welcome back to Trove One, everybody. I'm Josh, and we're back working on the camper today. It's been a while. Last thing we did was rebuild the hitch because we had the issue with that. But other than that, it has been a while since we worked on the camper. We've just been using it. But today we got it all cleaned out, somewhat cleaned out. Still got a lot of stuff in the kitchen, but we're not working back here today, so that doesn't matter. We're gonna work on the front area here. We've got a lot of work to do on the interior. We've still got flooring to do. We got some trim pieces. This is what I'm gonna work on to begin with, is just this front area. I'm gonna create some sliding doors to go into this. Then we gotta make a face for this, and up here, get the bunk put back in. So there's quite a bit of work to do here to get this completely finished up. And then we got we gotta trim out that door, trim out some of this. So we got lots of trim and paint and stuff like that to do. But we're just gonna get started and start working on cutting out some pieces to make a sliding door for this storage compartment. So this is 57.5, slide it down to the bottom. 57.5. Alright, in case you're wondering what those little strips are that I glued on there, those are basically just little offsets to help hold, because these are going to be sliding doors. I don't want the door in the front, when it slides, to scratch all the paint off the door in the back. So my idea is create some little spacers to hold those doors just a little bit apart so they can slide freely, be a little bit less friction, and should help the paint that's on there to last a little bit longer. So while that glue is drying, I don't know if that glue is going to hold. I'm just experimenting here. I don't know. We'll see if it works. But while that glue is drying, I've got a couple other things. So I need to start measuring for the face that is going to go on this whole thing. So essentially it's going to be like this. It's going to match how far this comes up, and it'll hold those sliding doors in place. So I need one big board to cover all this front part up and overhang enough to hold that door in place. I do need to, I've got these hatches in the floor. I've got to work on these because this is not permanent yet, but I've got these boards screwed in here. So I've got some screws here. I need to get those out because I won't be able to get those out later. So I'm going to pop those screws out. These are going to be held in differently later on. I've just had them temporarily fixed up so we could use it, but I'm going to pop those screws out that are going to be in the way of that board, then start getting measurements for the face that's going to go on here. Well, after a lot of measuring on that, this is what we've got. Now, translate that over to a piece of plywood and see if we did anything right. This is going to take a little while to cut out. We got the first kind of section cut out here. I've still got to cut a big hole out of the middle of it. But first, let's see if we're anywhere close on it actually fitting to begin with. Because if it doesn't fit to begin with, there's no point spending time trying to cut the hole. Let's see. We're gonna be close. Let me check it and see if it's actually going to fit properly. Well, it is really close to fitting. I've got to trim a little bit off right up in here and down here where some things kind of curve. Like I've said many times, nothing on this thing is square. So you can't count on normal measurements sometimes to actually work. So it's pretty close. Got a little bit of tweaking, little fine tuning, and then, but I think it will work. So not too bad. Y'all are on camera.
Oh no. Right away. Smile, you're on camera.
Smiles on the set. That panel is fitting here nicely. It's still got to be fastened in, but I have to get the two sliding doors have to go into place before that panel can be fastened in, and I need to get the doors painted before I can put them in. So I need to I'm going to sand this down, then do some more sanding adjustments on these, and then get some paint thrown on those so they at least have their the doors need to have their final coat. The other part, I'm just going to get like a rough coat, then put it up, and then do a finish coat probably later, I think. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to fasten that up and putty over the screws like I did on some of the other panels, or if I might paint it and then do some trim screws on it so that I can remove it. Haven't decided yet. Probably doesn't really matter. I doubt I'll remove it unless I need to work on these doors. So I don't know, I may get some trim screws and like some finish washers and do it that way. That way I can remove that panel if I need to work on the doors, if one of the door breaks or something. So I think that's probably the route I'm gonna go, but I'll think about it a little bit more. But I do need to do some sanding, so I'm probably gonna work on sanding. Gonna run out of daylight here in a minute. Sun is going down. Gonna get a nice sunset. But I think I will work on sanding and probably call it a day and come back tomorrow or whenever and work on paint. All right, I'm gonna hit, this is the bunk that goes up there. I'm gonna get a coat of paint on this side. The other side has one coat of paint, but I'm gonna get a coat of paint on this side, and we get a coat of paint on the new panel here, and then a coat of paint on at least one side of the doors. So let's get some of the painting done tonight so it can seal up. Kick on my fans over here because it's hot and I gotta have all the doors closed on the camper or there'll be bugs everywhere. Kick on those fans. Kick on that fan, and now I get some painting done. Hopefully without passing out in here from the fumes. We'll find out. Alright, base coat's down. I think I'm gonna call it a night and come back to this later. Alright, it's the next day. I'm back working. I did get a couple more coats of paint put on the doors here, on the bunk, and on this panel for the front. So those are painted. I just gotta let that finish drying and then I can start assembling that front. While I'm waiting on that to dry, I'm gonna start working on this piece because I've got a piece of trim to close up this storage area on the side here. And because this is so curved, these usually take me a little while. I gotta do a lot of measurements. I'll usually make like a grid and measure every 2 inches all the way up through here. I'll mark this and then I'll mark a board, mark 2 inches, then I'll measure the width at every 2 inches, and then I'll be able to draw that curve pretty accurately and get pretty close, and then I'll just have to tweak it a little bit to get it to fit exactly. So I think I'm gonna work on that right now. So the first thing I'm going to do here is just get my basic width and my maximum height, so I can just get that original rectangle cut out. It's going to be 7 by 38 1/4. Make that 38 1/2. 38 1/2. Alright, I got my measurements every 2 inches, so this is very loosely what we're looking for, that curved line. Pretty rough way of doing it, but it's worked for me so far. A little time consuming, but it should get us pretty close, and then we can finally adjust it if it doesn't fit. May not be quite perfect, but it's good enough. I'll get it fastened in place. We're gonna have right in here, we're gonna have some quarter trim molding, same on that corner over there, help finish it out, and around on the edges of the bunk just to trim out the corners. I gotta go get that, some little 90 kind of L-shaped molding. But that's got that piece. I need to get it fastened in, but I'm gonna go get some lunch first. Alright, this panel is all up. I need to fill some screw holes, sand it down, and paint it. But I'm going to move back over and work on the front again. I've got the two doors here. These are all dry. This one's got the spacers on it to help it slide, hopefully. But I'm going to start putting this on. I do need to do one more thing on these doors for them to slide. I'm just going to take probably a hole saw about like this and drill a hole in each one, so you can just use that as the handle. I'm not going to put any sort of handle on them other than that. So I think I'll drill those holes before I put them in. I'll do a little more touch up on those and paint that once I get it in, but I think that should work. It's pretty simple, but it should get the job done. So now that I've got it all fastened on here with some screws, these are a little snug specifically on the top because this isn't, if you can see, but it's not exactly, there's a little slight curve to it. So it's kicking this bottom lip in, making it pinch these doors. So I need to pull the door, this one back out and sand off a little bit across that top spacer so that that door, it's got space to wiggle down here on the bottom. There's a gap, but on top it's snug. So I'm gonna pull that door out, sand on the top a little bit, make that gap a little better.
Also for storing stuff?
Yeah. It's a little bit snug, but it's not bad. It'll get better. with time too. Smooth itself down. All right, sliding door is in and adjusted. There's still some resistance, but not that much. It is, of course, just wood sliding on wood. There's no rollers or anything like that, so you can expect at least some resistance, but it's completely functional. That one slides that way, access there. Slide that one over that way, slide this one this way, and access the storage box. So that is done. I do need to paint around some edges and put another coat on all this and get some finish screws. These are just temporary. I'm going to put finish screws in this with finish washers later on. So that panel needs a little bit more work. This needs some touch up, some more paint. Haven't decided yet if I'm going to put a face on the top of this or if I'm just going to sand it down as best I can and paint it. I am going to try to get the bunk put back in, so I need to get that part, this part in here, this notch where the bunk sits, prepped for that. A little paint, but we're getting real close on having the front of this completely done. I am going to put some trim. I'm going to trim this out, so there'll be some trim, so you actually won't be able to really see some of this. But just to clean it up, I'm going to get some trim and do the trim piece around the edge there.
Come look!
Right.
Dad made doors!
What are we doing next?
I don't know.
Me either.
Guys, look! Daddy put doors on it. They slide back and forward. They slide all the way.
Can you open them? See if you're strong enough. Alright, with that being put up, I've got one more thing I want to work on today, and that is this door panel. This is my last, I think my last really big piece of wood that I need to get cut and fitted. So I've got a piece of plywood here about the right size, and we're going to do some measurements on it, get it set up to fit that. And I also pulled the door panel off our other Suburban, so I should be able to at least partially lay this on here and trace and get my curves off this door panel. I've still got to measure and get my overall height, because this isn't, the plywood's not going to go up as high as this door panel does, but I think I can, this will help me from having to figure out all these curves. Hopefully it'll make it fairly accurate. We'll see what happens. That is right on the money already. Okay, I don't need to trim that at all. Exactly the height we need. It's exactly 26 3/4. That never happens. That means we just need to set this here, line up the bottom about like that. That should be the bottom. And then we just need to trace this. That's pretty close. Close enough. Look at that. New door panel. Clunk. All right, we at least got it tacked up there. Just got a few screws in it for right now. Let's make sure it closes. Watch your elbow. It closes. That's why the factory door panel is not on here. For one, this is fully insulated, so the door panel doesn't fit very well. Two, this floor comes out too far, and so the factory door panel would not fit on here anymore because I wanted to make that space as wide as I could. So that's why we have this. This will get painted and finished out. I don't think I'm gonna do it today. I'm gonna probably get some finished screws. Like for this, I'm gonna replace these with finished screws. I'll do the same for this. These are just temporary. I'll put a few more in it. I don't know, we're thinking about putting maybe a fold up, like a little mini table on this, or I don't know, or maybe like a chalkboard, finish it out with like a chalkboard finish where the kids can draw on there with chalk. I don't know if we want chalk in the camper. Chalk is kind of messy. Oh, maybe we'll put a marker board up here. I don't know. We're thinking about doing something on that door since we got kind of a flat panel there. Or maybe we'll put some storage bags or something. I don't know. We'll probably do something on that door. Got to utilize all the space that we can. All right, guys, I think we're going to call it a day with this progress. Got lots of little loose ends to do, but run out of time for this weekend. So I got to get all this stuff cleaned up, get it back in the truck so I can go to work tomorrow. But we made some good progress. I'm happy with this. Glad to see some of these big open spots getting closed up. So hopefully very soon we're going to basically be working on trim for a little bit, and then we're going to tackle the floor, and then the interior is going to be done. So we're getting pretty close. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.